Good news and bad news from Capitol Hill. The good news is that Congress is out for a 5-week break. The bad news is also that Congress is out for a 5-week break. Last week, knowing vacation was around the corner, Congress managed to fund the Highway Trust Fund through May by letting companies underfund their pension systems. Lawmakers passed new funding for the VA and gave $22 million to Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system. I think it might have been a little more than that. But they punted on border security, and the House passed a Tea Party-led bill late Friday that will never become law. That's kind of on par for this Congress. They are about to set a record low for bills that were passed into law, and they're on schedule to have the fewest working days that they've had in session in 2 decades. What's wrong with Congress? I'm going to go around the table. One suggestion on how to fix Congress and make Congress work better. And Jeannie, just because you're staring at me like you don't have an answer, I'm going to start with you.
Why do you come to me with these complicated questions? You know what's not going to do it? What's not going to do it? I'll tell you that.
This report?
What I'm going to say is just changing over the people. You have to seriously change the system, and that means the way that we elect people. They are all running for the primaries. We have to change the way we run elections in this country.
Reform,
Well, redistricting reform would be one thing, money in campaigns would be another, but the way, in fact, that we elect people, because what's happening is they're all running for the primaries, and you can't govern in this kind of capacity. Another thing, and sorry, Dominic, another thing, is, you know, don't shoot me, but stronger parties. You need parties that have leaders that can control their caucuses. When you don't have that, they are running amok, and that's what's happening to poor John Boehner.
Dominic?
I really believe, and I'm not blaming the president, but I really believe things will be a lot better when he's out of office. I really believe that.
No, they won't.
There'll still be partisanship, but when this president leaves office and Hillary's in office or whoever, they will have a much better relationship. And Part B, I'm sticking to your one response.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of.
Oh, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. That's the slick way.
Like an outline.
Right.
Subsection 2.
That's the slick way. Part B, you got to find a way to get rid of these. That's a good thing. To get rid of these Tea Party folks. These nuts are ruining this country.
We'll get more on Obama in just a second. Michael?
I got to say, I don't know what we're comparing this to. Yes, they've passed the least number of bills. Yes, they've worked the least number of days. But there have always been complaints about Congress, and the issues just look different. And the 24-hour news cycle and web-based news sources have made it that much more apparent, but there have always been complaints about Congress. I would agree with Dominic that this president has been completely disengaged from Congress, and mixing this segment with the previous one, I am told that the president's relationship and interest in working with Congress makes Andrew Cuomo's administration look warm and fuzzy when it comes to working with the state legislature. I would just say everybody in Congress needs some improving, except Congresswoman Grace Meng, who's a dear friend of mine.
Are you one of the 8% who thinks that Congress is doing a good job?
I didn't say they're doing a good job.
Okay.
That's not what I said. What I said is I don't know that this is the sky is falling and it's the worst it's ever been. It's the worst it's ever been for us, but every generation and every decade.
It's the worst in 100 years, right?
Jessica,
1960?
Jessica, it's Obama's fault, right?
Well, obviously, of course that. But I would like to see maybe a 4-year term for members of the House, because you're in a hyper-political climate, and the second you get elected, you're already thinking about re-election and raising money and making political decisions. And maybe if the terms were a little bit longer, they would have, and maybe term limits added in with that, people would have a little more political will to make the tough decisions.
All right, D.C. dysfunction, as several panelists have mentioned, not entirely the fault of Congress. And today, on his 53rd birthday, happy birthday, Mr. President, we focus in on the shortcomings of President Obama. That's what Bloomberg's Al Hunt did this weekend in a column entitled, Mr. Obama, It's Time to Get Presidential. In it, Hunt penned an open letter to the president on behalf of all Democrats, writing, first, erase the F word, fatalism, from your rhetoric and mindset. We share your frustration, but fatalism isn't an option for the leader of the free world. On the big issues, there's good news on the economy. Trumpet it. Too many people are still struggling, but your ambivalence only fuels unjustified public pessimism. Also, don't just react to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Take the offensive against him more. And more from Hunt. With all due respect, you have to broaden your circle of advisors. Jeannie, you've made this point before. The episodes we've cited reflect White House insularity. And he concludes, Mr. President, you still have the biggest megaphone in the world and 900 days left to use it. Seize every one. Good luck. We hope we're there with you. Has President Obama checked out?
Wouldn't you check out if you dealt with a Congress where if you said A, they're going to say Z? If you say Z, they're going to say A? If you say up, they're going to say down? Wouldn't you check out as well?
You cannot complain about the job you so desperately want, and it is one of the most powerful positions in the world.
Agreed.
It can be reasonably argued that this president has done the least with the most amount of political capital, despite Congress.
Wow.
I think you'd have to argue that he ever checked in. I mean, this has been his attitude towards dealing with Congress from day one. It has been.
But wait, Boehner can't even control his boys in the House. So
But-
what's the president supposed to do?
I'm sorry, the leadership starts with the White House and then it trickles out, okay? Obama has never, ever been willing to have a productive negotiating relationship with the Congress. He had all three branches, you know, he had the House and the Senate. And what did he do? Nothing got done then either,
Healthcare.
except Obamacare. And that's been a
Healthcare.
disaster.
Some people think
so
it's a good
I'm
thing.
sorry. So you're going to complain about immigration now and blame it on the Republicans. It's all their fault.
They won't
I'm
pass
just going to act
immigration.
blah, blah.
Republicans in the House won't pass immigration.
They had a deal, but he screwed it up. And when he had control of both houses, he didn't get it done. So it's
There was
just
only
like
so
a lot
much
of
he could
empty
get done
rhetoric.
in the first 2 years of his administration.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
he got
about
healthcare
setting
done.
priorities, and Obamacare, which has been an epic disaster, which will be used against him in the midterm elections, or tackling immigration reform, or getting the economy back on track. It didn't happen.
There's a tendency in this country to focus on the individual in office and to say once they leave, everything's going to be fine. I point you back to 06, 07, when people on the left, right, and center thought George Bush was the worst thing that had ever happened to this country. He may well have been. Obama may be the worst president ever, but you know what? We're going to put somebody else in there, whether it's Hillary Clinton or somebody else, and unless you change the system, Jessica's ideas about 4-year terms, getting money out of campaigns, unless you change the institution, it is going to take an angel, an act of God to get somebody to work across the aisle. It's not about personality. That plays a role, but it doesn't define everything. And we have to stop thinking about these individuals as if we get the right person in there, it'll be okay. That's a hell of a way to run a country. You got to have a system in which any fool who gets in can run it. Okay, not that we're going to wait for angels. I mean, that was the whole idea of the founding. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Setting the aspirational goal so high. Jeannie,
Or whatever.
I feel so much better about the country now.
Andrew,
Last-
wait until this president writes his book when he's out of office.
I know.
Because
You'll
we
be
all
the
know at
first
this
one in line
table
for it.
what he's going to say. Nobody wants to put it on the table, and me as the black guy, if I say it, as the African American on the panel, if I say it, then Dominic's being an angry black man. But we're acting like race has nothing to do with how this president is judged and how this Congress works with him.
It's like
it has everything to do
all
with
of
it.
that, everything everybody said at the table being accepted is true. You move on from that. None of these are reasons for
No,
it
I agree
not
with that.
to
I
work.
agree with that.
It's
I
like
agree
scene
with
in
that.
Casablanca. There's gambling going on here. I'm shocked. There's politics. Members of the House are running for Congress, for governor and Senate. That's new. I've never heard of it before. There's politics in politics, and there's politics in government. The money piece is new, and I think stronger parties could fix that.
Yay
All
for
right.
stronger parties.
Yay for
Yay.
stronger parties. And I still think redistricting needs to be changed. Up
I
next,
agree.
whether it's medical or recreational, many of you have strong opinions about marijuana. After the break, we're going to take a look at some of the comments you left on our Facebook page after our show on Friday. We're also going to find out where the panel stands when we come back.